Hello, everyone. I'm worried I'm a little glitchy. I'm worried that I'm a little slow. How is it looking and sounding? Anyone? Anyone out there? All good? Okay, good. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks. Hi. I don't know what's happening. I look weird to myself, but I'll get over it. I'll try not to get caught up in that. Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Moran. I'm the owner of Table Wine in Madison. If you've not joined us for a wine class before, you're in for a treat. And if you have joined us before, hey, nice to see you again, or see your names, I guess. For those of you who might be joining for the first time, at least in a virtual world, it already looks like you've discovered the chat a little bit. So we use the chat bar quite a bit during class to ask questions, let us know what you're smelling and tasting when it comes time to tasting the wine, kind of throwing out any and all suggestions. This is as close as we can get to personal interaction without it just being a wild Zoom call. So seems like this format is working for us. If you haven't already answered the poll, I would love if you could take just a second and do that. I'm just going to take a quick glance myself. It looks like we have kind of in the middle mix. The middle is that you enjoy Chilean wines and you drink them sometimes, or that you don't know much about them and maybe have never had them before. Really the one that I'm so glad that I'm glad to see no one answered, but I'm always game, was the hey, I hate them and prove me wrong. I put it there for a reason. That's a legitimate answer. So don't feel like if that is actually your answer, you're allowed to answer that answer. That's kind of one of the joys of these classes, but it's also nice to know that I'm not, up against some haters. So let's dig into Chile. I haven't taught this class I realized it's been about 2 years. And one of the things that I remember about the first time I taught this class, and maybe some of you were actually in that class in person, remember those days, was one of the things I remember so well is that I didn't know a lot about Chilean history, just generally speaking, let alone Chilean wine history. And preparing for that class was really something that got me really, really excited and interested. Kind of like reinvigorated my interest in learning about wine. I think it comes and goes for all of us, right? We love our jobs. For those of us who love our jobs, let's start there. For those of us who love our jobs, we don't, there's still those moments of I know how to do this and I'm not necessarily learning. And then there are those moments of right, this is what got me excited. And learning about this class originally was one of those moments for me. Chilean wine was just not something I had gravitated towards, other than when I needed to be on a really strict budget in my early 20s, which we will actually talk just a tiny bit about the budget part of that. So anyway, I think this history is fascinating and I could go on at length about it, but I am going to try to do it briefly, but also do it justice. So the conquistadors came from Spain to South America and to Chile. And with them, they brought a grape that is known by many different names. We're going to refer to it as Pais tonight. I'm going to put that in the chat in case you're curious. It is known as Mission here in the US, and it's known as Listan Negro in Spain. So it grows on Mallorca. And the boats from Spain were often leaving from Mallorca or from that area. So with them, they brought these vines to grow grapes in Chile. They claimed that it was for religious reasons. And this was also one of the things that I find great because I grew up Catholic. And so I just kind of the missionaries did their work in spreading wine around the world. So for whatever else they did, we're not going to talk about that, but we'll just thank them for the wine that they spread to the New World. So the conquistadors bring Pais with them. And for about a century. That was really the main grape that was grown in Chile. And then some more, modifications, mutations. My mind went blank for a second. Mutations started to happen in the vineyards, plus people coming from Spain with, vines from other parts of Europe. Other grapes started to get grown there. So by the 1830s, they're starting to see a wider variety, and the government decides to create something called the Quinta Normal. And it's this really fascinating thing that it's basically like a vine library. And I haven't seen well, I guess there wouldn't be photos. I haven't seen drawings of the building, but my understanding is that it was kind of this beautiful building, and they had all of these vines, and it was like, under lock and key, and it was very protected because they really believed that they were going to kind of be the ones to protect grapes, which I think is just kind of, I don't know, odd that they kind of took that upon themselves, but thank goodness that they did. So because of the Quinta Normal, they had these vines. And then because of Chile's isolation really from the rest of the world, with the Andes in between them and, everything else, and then the ocean on the other side, they were really isolated from the phylloxera outbreak. Some of you have heard me talk about phylloxera a million times, and so I won't go into it too much here, but let's just say that phylloxera was this little bug that wreaked havoc all over the world in the early or in the mid 19th century. So sorry, I'm saying mid 19th century, but that's early 20th century. So because of that, because they did have some vines that were under lock and key, and because of the geographic isolation, even parts of Chile that were affected, they were very easily able to say, like, okay, stop growing, rip up those affected vines, and here we have new vines. So Chile has this kind of, I don't know, special history that's very unlike everywhere else. They were growing grapes, they were making wine, but unfortunately they were making quite a bit of wine, but for most of the 20th century, they were not able to export it because of political unrest. There was always kind of a fight between the Chilean government with import and export. My understanding now is that it's not that that fight isn't happening, but that wine has become important enough that the government is willing to work around that. But in the 20th century, while they were making a lot, it was being consumed in Chile, and so it wasn't worth it to them to try to work out the issues with importing and exporting, and particularly to us. We were not amenable to that fact. So there we are. Chilean wine was not known in the United States until the late 20th century, which, as someone who was born in the late 70s, it's one of those things where when I'm reading the history and to me, I was starting to learn about Chilean wine at that time. And I'm like, oh no, it's actually, everyone was learning about Chilean wine at that time, regardless of how old you were here in the US. So it's kind of funny. Like, I feel like I came of age with Chilean wine, but the deal with kind of how it came to be a little bit more popular is really due to the French. So the French and lots of European wine cultures have a standard in which the eldest born child in the family is really brought along to learn the winemaking trade in the family's vineyards, if they own their own vineyards. And that if they have other children, they aren't typically taught to make wine in the family's vineyards. Sometimes they might even send off the eldest to go learn the ropes somewhere else and then come home. But it's often where, like, the firstborn is, I don't know, special, and then the younger kids have to go somewhere else. And that somewhere else, for a lot of families, was Chile. Particularly, there was this Bordeaux connection with Chile. That the climate has similarities to Bordeaux. The actual soil has similarities. Now, obviously, the elevation, very different. But Bordeaux families saw the kind of the connection there. So they were sending their family members to learn winemaking, kind of bring the Chilean wine standard up a bit. And so here lo and behold, we have the French to thank for for that. Interestingly, when I taught this class previously, I've always kind of included one of those families in the lineup. And tonight, because we're only tasting 3, we're not tasting a French-based winery, but that's okay because we're focusing on Chile, right? Any questions about that history? I really do think like the Quinta Normal and stuff, I think is really fascinating if you're a history person. Questions? No. Okay. So some just fundamentals. I'm sorry, my screen's, there we go. Some fundamentals on what you can kind of expect from Chilean wines. The main focus for a lot of wineries in Chile is varietal specific, meaning single varietals. So it's not that you won't see some blends, and we even have a blend in our mix tonight, but they really do go for single varietal. And one of the reasons that they've done that is that is very export friendly. People, and when I say export, I do mean the world, but I also kind of have an eye on us here in the US. We know what Sauvignon Blanc is, and we like that we know what Sauvignon Blanc is. So the Chilean wine industry is very savvy in that way, and they understand that, that's how we are going to buy our wines. So they tend to focus on single varietal wines. They often are really, truly remarkable values. It is rare to find a Chilean wine for more than 20 when we're talking about kind of the mass bulk of the wine that's coming out of Chile. There are definitely beautiful upper tier wines. But, sometimes people say to me like, I want to spend a little bit more on a Chilean Sauv Blanc. And I'm like, the most expensive Chilean Sauv Blanc I've come across here in Madison is still $15, I think. I don't think I've even found one for 20. So, good value. Yay for us. Generally speaking, this is like a massive broad sweep of things. Chilean wines tend to be fruit forward, but herbaceous. And so they kind of walk that line. And I think that's what makes them appealing for a lot of different palates. And they do have lots of similarity to Bordeaux wines, whether they're being made by a French family or not. It's often Bordeaux varietals that are being used, and kind of that same style of wine, which is where that kind of herbaceous thing comes into play. The French, not so much known for their fruit forward wines. So Chile kind of makes their mark with the fruit and then stays true to their Bordeaux friends with the herbs. Just a quick couple of notes about wine labels so that you just kind of know what you're looking at. I find Chilean wine labels to feel very familiar. I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel like they're one of the countries where I hear from customers, they're like, I don't even want to pick it up because I don't even know what it is, right? They know what they're doing when they're making wine for us. So if it has a region listed, I'm going to take the first wine, our Prisma Sauv Blanc, as an example. If it has a region listed, which this does, it has Casablanca Valley listed. That means that 75% of the grapes have to come from that place. If it has a varietal listed, it has to be 75% of that wine. So that's very similar to what we have here in the US. So, heads up, just because it says, 75% Chardonnay, that doesn't mean that there isn't 25% of something else, in case you didn't know that right now. The one thing that I really always stress when talking about Chilean wine, we're going to do Rioja class in a couple weeks. We're going to talk about the difference between Crianza and Reserva and Gran Reserva. And in Rioja, Spain, those words mean a lot. They have strict rules, and the label of Reserva really means something. In Chile, the word Reserva doesn't mean anything. It's kind of like Vintner's Select or Winemaker's Select, like we use here in the US sometimes. You'll see those on California wine labels sometimes. You can put Reserva on anything. So I mention this as just a heads up, just like hey guys, it's a marketing ploy. Fall for it if you want, don't fall for it if you don't. But just like, be cautious there. Don't spend too much money, don't look at a wine list and say like, oh, it says Reserva, it must be great. That's not necessarily true. The big white varietals, while they do grow a number of different whites, it's really about Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay. So Sauvignon Blanc is grown in Bordeaux. Chardonnay is not. It's grown in Burgundy. But winemakers in Chile saw the success that they could have with Chardonnay. There's significantly more red wine being grown in Chile. So the reds I have listed here. Cab Sauv is really a huge one. The wines that we're going to taste tonight, we have a Carménère, which we'll talk about later. Syrah, Pinot, Pais that I've mentioned and we'll talk about again. And then lots of Bordeaux and Southern French varietals. So it's a pretty mixed bag. There are a lot of different grapes that are grown there. If you were going to spend, kind of what I would say like an above the budget friendly wine, if you wanted to spend that amount of money, going in for an upper tier Chilean cab can be a really fabulous experience, and it can really appeal to a lot of different people. So that's one thing to think about exploring. Questions about any of that before we get started with the drinking? I do have a map here, and I'm happy to come back to it as we need. Everybody's really quiet tonight. Questions? Anything? Okay. All right. Here we go. Good. Thank you, Alexis. I just like need the validation, There's like this, I don't know, talking. Rough day, ready for a drink? Oh, I'm sorry. People are having a rough day. I'm just going to not talk politics. Sorry. I just had like a... Nope, I'm just gonna not, guys. I'm just gonna not. So we'll come back to this map as we need to. We're gonna taste 3 wines. They are from 3 different regions. So we're gonna start in Aconcagua. We're going to go to the southern regions and then the Central Valley. So that is where we're headed. Still ready for a drink? Well, pour yourself drinks then, guys. You don't need to wait for me. It's like it's your job or something, Carrie. All right, guys. So Prisma. Let's talk about Aconcagua for a moment. Start drinking, please. But I'm just going to go over this for a moment. The really important subregion, one of the most important regions in all of Chile, is the Casablanca Valley. It is essential to the wine industry there, and really worth if and when we can travel. I mean, someday we'll be able to travel. I really do recommend going to Casablanca Valley. I have not been there. I've heard really wonderful things. I think maybe some folks watching tonight have been there. I know some people mentioned when they signed up that they had traveled. So give it a shout out if you have been there. As I was looking through pictures and getting ready, putting the slides together, I turned to my husband and I was like, I miss traveling so much. And I really can't wait to get to South America because it's somewhere I've never been. So Casablanca Valley is important. It is very close. Actually, I am going to go back to that map for a second. It is very close. It's here. So it's very, very, very close to the Pacific. And it has the same current. It's called the Humboldt Current. And it is the same current in the Pacific Ocean that pushes the water towards Mendocino, California. So it's very similar. So like Mendocino, Pinot Noir does really well there, and Sauvignon Blanc does really well there. So it can be really fascinating from like a wine geeky standpoint to taste Mendocino and Casablanca Valley wines side by side, just to kind of see the similarities to them. The grapes are what grows well in California: Sauv Blanc, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noir. Those are, like the coastal California. And then our food pairing are that I have listed there are specific to this wine. It's not just all of not just all of the wines here. So let's drink some Prisma, guys. It is very fragrant. It's super, super fragrant. Even if you did take this class with me a couple of years ago, this is for sure a new vintage. It's 2019, and we actually just got their rosé back in stock, and it's 2020. We have a wine in the shop that says 2020 on it. It kind of blows my mind. I love South American wines. Oh yeah. Okay. So ceviche with popcorn, super South American thing. Yeah. Let me make that big again. So very traditional is to have ceviche with popcorn, sometimes dusted with like chili. Yeah, that's the traditional pairing. But when I smell this wine, I just smell like so much green vegetal notes that my mind goes to Thai food, because that's, I don't know, where my mind is often. So what are you guys smelling and tasting? How do you enjoy it? What do you think? Mm-hmm. Super lemongrassy. Super lemongrassy. I feel like if I did this in a blind tasting, I feel like people would probably pick up on the fact that it's Sauv Blanc, but I think most people would assume it's New Zealand for that lemongrass. I guess it's not as grapefruity as New Zealand, but I don't know. It's pretty citrusy. Good. Yay. 4 thumbs up. I like 4 thumbs up. I'm a big fan of the thumbs up. It is so intensely aromatic. Oh, good. It's one of your go-tos. Awesome. Peppers. Yeah. I mean, I always, my tasting note on this is jalapeno. Straight up. Like that's the first on the tag. That's the first word. Then there's stuff about the citrus and the herbs. That comes later. But for me, like the first time I smelled this wine, I was just like, holy jalapeno. I could not get over it. Which a number of customers buy this wine just because they are curious about what the hell does a wine taste like if it tastes like jalapeno or smells like jalapeno. And occasionally, sorry, I'll move this. Occasionally I will let my 8-year-old daughter help an adult friend pick out wine, and she always sells them Prisma because she likes the label. So, yeah. I do have a picture of the winery, or of the vineyard, pardon me. So they have the vineyards listed on the back, which I really appreciate. And this is, I'm trying to remember, this is the Len vineyard. Yeah. Yeah, right. Grapefruity. It's so citrusy. And that's why I think that like with the ceviche, it would just be absolutely stunning, but also why I kind of, my mind goes to Thai food, curry and green papaya salad and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah. It's lively. It's bright. I think that the pepper thing that or the pepper lemongrass thing that we're hitting on is kind of what I'm talking about. Along with that citrus grapefruitiness is kind of exactly what I was talking about when I said that it's both fruit forward and herbaceous, like that's kind of what you can expect from wines from Chile. This is like just a really beautiful quintessential example of that. It is markedly its own. Like, it doesn't taste like Sauv Blanc. I mean, I think if you think really hard about it, it doesn't taste like Sauv Blanc from anywhere else. I think it could easily be mistaken for a New Zealand Sauv Blanc, but it's definitely not French, and it's definitely not California. So that's kind of a fun thing. And if you like the kind of greener wines, this is a really lovely one to try. And yeah, lots of acid, lots of acid, maybe a little salty. Yeah, so Casablanca Valley is so close to the Pacific that often the wines have some minerality to them, whether that's actual salt, like actual salt in the air. There's some debate, and I don't know exactly where the vineyard is in relation to the ocean, but particularly in their Pinots from this region, the wines from Casablanca Valley do have some kind of minerality underlying them all. It's not as, I'd say, obvious as from, parts of Spain or parts of France, but I agree with you. I do think that it's there. I love that. It does make your mouth water a lot, right? I can hear you. It's amazing how that happens. Is there anyone out in the group who is not digging this? Seeing a lot of happy people, but is there anyone who's like, not my thing? It's okay. It's a safe space. You're allowed to not like everything. I don't know what that means, Carol. Carol left a chat, but I'm not really sure what that means. Aaron's not a fan. That's fair. I was waiting for somebody to not be a fan. I was like, come on, guys. It is very high acid. The herbaceous citrus is not getting around. So I think that it is, it's a bold flavored wine, you know? So if those aren't your flavors, if that's not your profile, you know, not your profile. You're not necessarily going to like it. Whenever I taste wines like this, and one of the reasons that I was like, come with me, tell me that you don't like it. What I always think of when I have a high acid wine like this, if you're not currently eating, wines like this are really at their best with food. Now, maybe you just love it the way that it is, and that's awesome. But if you are tasting it and thinking that it's a little too much, a little tart, a little too citric, something like that, having it with some food would be really great. And it could be something as simple as a soft cheese and crackers. It doesn't have to be ceviche and popcorn. It can just be whatever you want. But I do often recommend this wine for parties like hors d'oeuvre kind of parties. Not like, I don't think anybody's going to be eating kind of parties. This is one of the wines that I think is a little bit better when it's, you know, going with everybody's, all the little snacks and stuff. Carol's wondering, what's everybody eating? What is everybody eating? What are y'all having for dinner tonight? And are you eating now or are you waiting? I'm always curious. Like, I love this. Bonzo. Oh my God, we were going to have Bonzo too. We were going to have Shake Shack, because Shake Shack opened, but we had trouble ordering. So we're getting Papavro, which has zero to do with Chile, but I will be happy as hell. So it's just fine. Yum. Yes. Jake, you're just having wine? Have a cracker, please. Have something. The first taste you get is, I have to go back to the fact that Lucas threw out, the first taste I get is tennis ball cans. I freaking love that. I love when people offer up highly specific things that are not, you know, part of the traditional repertoire. So I'm just going to pour myself a smidge more just to see if I can get there with you on that, on your tennis ball can road. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, like the fuzzy tennis balls. I love it. I love it so much. It's like my favorite. Oh my God, that might be like my favorite all-time comment. It's pretty great. I kind of get what you're talking about. I mean, I think that's like the power of suggestion, but it's not like rubber, because that's what I was thinking at first when I read your comment. I was like, is he talking about rubber? Because this wine does not have that kind of like gym shoe thing going on, but it does kind of smell like fuzzy tennis balls, brand new tennis balls. Which could be, I know some of you were in a class recently where we were talking about volatile acid, the VA for short. I will put that in the chat. And it could be that that's what, Lucas, you're picking up on. It could be that. It's kind of, often equated to nail polish remover. I'm not saying that that's what I'm smelling, but just in case. Harissa chicken and sweet potatoes. Yum. Sounds delicious and sounds like it's going to be really good with one of the reds if it's not great with this. Ooh, sausage and peppers and onions and stuff. Love it. That sounds so delicious. All right. Are we good leaving Sauv Blanc and the Aconcagua Valley? I don't mean to give it short shrift. It's an important place. I would recommend, if you enjoyed this wine, you can, it's fine. I think it's great. If you enjoyed this wine, we don't have, I'm just going to be upfront. We don't have a huge Chilean section because the interest in Chilean wine has not been really like deep and whatever over the course of table wine. We haven't had that kind of like, oh my gosh, such an interest in Chilean wine. There are really good Chilean wines in the market that I'm happy to special order for people, or if I start to see that people, kind of like, okay, I liked that Prisma, what else do you have? I'm happy to kind of expand that. So, by all means, let me know tonight or email me, or, when you place an order or whatever, just kind of let us know kind of what your interest level is in Chilean wines, because we probably only have half dozen or so. And, there are good things that we're not carrying right now. All right. Are we good? Okay. Oh, and I want to know, Carol, what are you eating? Oh, you're eating Lombardinos. See, I'm having the Pavra. It's kind of the same disease. Yummy pasta. All right, guys, we're going to go to the southern regions, which I don't think I need to bring the map back up because it's pretty obvious where the southern regions are. They are in the far south. So important regions, subregions there are Itata, Biobío, and Malleco. The latitude, so it's really far south in Chile, and the elevation here, the mountains are just a bit steeper than they are in other parts of the country, which is, kind of really saying something. It leads to there being little pockets. So the difference between Itata, Biobío, and Malleco it's decently stark in terms of what grapes they grow there. So generally speaking, there's a reason that they're grouped together, similar-ish climate, similar-ish terrain, but just by like dint of history and who settled where and kind of what they're interested in. For instance, Biobío is much more white heavy and they lean way towards Alsatian grapes, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Muscat. Itata leans way more towards red, with Cinsault being the primary grape there. So it can be worth kind of really, really starting to explore. I have not come across that many wines from these regions available here in Madison. So there's this one from Itata, and I want to say I've come across maybe a few others, but it's not like the other places we're going to try tonight, Casablanca Valley and Maipo, where you can really, really start to explore. Alsatian grapes. So when I say Alsatian grapes, they're the grapes from Alsace, which sometimes is France, sometimes is Germany. Right now it's currently France. But yes, the whites, the Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, Riesling, Gewürz, Muscat, all of those. So in Itata, which is what we're going to focus on, the really, really important grape, it's almost 50% of the grapes grown in Itata are Cinsault, which if you don't know it, that is a-okay. It's not really that well known. It's a red grape from southern France. It's known for being medium-bodied, decently minerally, and not all that exciting is what a lot of people say about Cinsault. For those of you who joined us for South Africa class, since if you remember Pinotage, Cinsault is one of the parent grapes of Pinotage. It is Pinot Noir and Cinsault. So I don't have 100% Cinsault for you to try, but this is a hefty dose of Cinsault. In Itata, it's also Pais, and then Muscat and Chard. So the food pairings listed there are for this particular wine. Again, these are not just to the region. So pour yourself some of the Pour Miguel. And let's talk about it a little bit. You'll notice for the food pairings, before we leave it, meat. It doesn't have to be meat, but I would say that that's really kind of where it is its best. So this wine is primarily Cinsault with some Pais and Syrah. Cinsault often smells smoky. This wine sure as hell smells smoky. Yep. Smells like a mezcal. I really agree with you. I really, really, really agree with you, Amy. Yeah. It's great. That's a great note. Oh, bacon. Yeah, right? Totally. Yep, smoked meat. So that is two things at play here. One, it is just it is the grapes. That is like a Cinsault thing. And two, this is a natural wine. So there is very, very, very minimal sulfites added to the wine. I don't believe that there are any sulfites added at bottling. And if there are, it is as tiny a dose as possible. So that smokiness is really the grapes and the terroir. So there's nothing getting in the way there. Often when they add sulfites to wine, it acts as a preservative and you don't kind of get this smell. So it's one of the reasons that I wanted to feature this particular wine. Oh, it's so smoky. It's so smoky. But then there's like this like tart berry thing for me on the finish that I really like, and I like a little spice. Totally. So Pour Miguel is from Clos de Fou, which basically, apparently, my husband was like Grove of Fools. Apparently, that's how it translates in French, and it is a winery owned by 4 friends, and they created Pour Miguel means. See, I've been hearing it pronounced in Spanish, but I just learned that it's actually a French saying. So it's for my gob, basically, like for me. And it's a term used in southern France for wine that winemakers think is so good, or wineries think is so good that they want to save for themselves and they don't want to sell. So that's what they call this. This is their like, we love this stuff. And the four guys who own it, actually, I'll show you a picture of 2 of them. There they are with the vineyards in the background. I just kind of enjoyed that picture so much that I had to show it to you guys. Pedro Parra is one of the 4. He's the guy in the front. He is self-proclaimed terroirist, which I find a very hard word to say without saying terrorist. He has studied terroir in France and in Chile, and he is really, what he does is he can come into a vineyard and look at the soil, examine the weather, kind of get to know the atmosphere there and say, these are the grapes that grow best here. And so that's what Pedro does really well. So that's kind of their thing, is growing grapes that you might not expect. So let's get back to the wine. You're not a fan, you don't like mezcals, and you can't get over the smokiness. Yeah. So if the smokiness is too much for you, I already think that it's tasting different. Like, I already am getting way more fruit. You could absolutely 100% decant this, or just let it hang out and breathe, and it will for sure change. I think that there's no getting over the smoky note of Cinsault, but it starts to be a little more like flint. Like when I was talking about the minerality, it's a little bit more like rocks and a little less aggressive. So if this is not your jam, it doesn't have to be your jam. First of all, it might not be your jam, but I do think that like you will start to see more kind of open up. It is low in tannin, to go back to that. Pais is juicy, also kind of smoky. So we've had some wines in the shop that are a different strain of Listan from Mallorca, but very similar tasting notes to what everybody's throwing out here, where my manager Jenna and I tasted it and we were both like, oh my God, it smells just like mezcal. And then we both had this like, I don't know if I like this or not. I'm not 100% sure. So There it is. But it is pretty low in tannin. It's really good with meat. So if you're going to have your sausage and peppers later, Alexis, and I would say give it a shot again, like later, and see if it's a little bit more your jam. But I do think that the fruit will come out more and more. So Jake's saying that it's mellowed out a lot. This is my first time cracking it open and tasting it. So I've tasted it before twice, both times where it had been opened for a while. So this is by far the more aggressively smoky that I've seen it. And that's kind of like the beauty of natural wine. I mean, it's the beauty of a lot of wine, well-made wine, where it is going to kind of change. And it's why I say just like open it and see what you think. And if you like it as is, awesome, drink up. And if you're like, I'm not so sure about this, see if decanting or aerating kind of lets it meet what you want more. And yes, to Kristen and Patty's comment about the balance between acid and tannin. I just think like one of the things that really strikes me when I taste a wine like this, when people in the wine profession talk about a well-made wine, what the hell are we talking about? Something like this. And like, let's just put the smoke in I'm not talking about the smoke. Okay. Like that's a thing and that's a tasting note and that's true. And I'm not discounting it. But when we're talking about like the winemaking at play here, the balance between acidity and tannin and kind of the ability to have this relatively light, I'd say this kind of like falls into that medium bodied category, but complex wine, that to us is just like a real mark of a well-made wine. It's not any one direction too much. Putting that tasting thing aside. But depending on what you you often drink or what you gravitate towards, it might not be bold enough for you. It might have too much tannin or not enough tannin. So like, I'm not saying that it has to be the wine for everybody, but something like this that is kind of like in balance is often kind of what people are talking about. I also just really, it was very important to me that we get to drink Pais. I had, some of you, I think, got the Criolla Chica. Did some of you get the Criolla Chica a little while ago from Carasur? They're in Argentina, and they're another natural winemaker that are carried by the same importer as this wine. But the Criolla Chico is 100%. Criolla Chica is the Argentine name for Pais. And so I was kind of bummed that I couldn't find 100% Pais just because I think it's a cool story. Pardon me. I think it's just like a cool story. So more red than black fruit. Agree? Yes. Yes, I do agree. One caveat being, I really do think like that super tart blackberry that you expect to be sweet and isn't, like that gets stuck in my brain here. But yes, I would say like generally, yeah, way more red fruit, I think. And relatively tart, right? Like tart red fruit, not juicy or ripe or anything along those lines. Yeah, I'm with you. An Italian wood burning stove. Oh my God, Lucas, you're like this is amazing. This is amazing. I love this. I love your aroma notes so much. This is just my best. I just love it so much. How is the smoke created? It's not similar to whiskey. It's not peated. There's nothing at play here. There's no smoke. There's no actual smoke involved in the making of this wine. Truly, there isn't. It's not like mezcal. It's not, there's nothing smoked about this. The smokiness is due to the polyphenols that are actually in these grapes. Different grapes have different polyphenols, and that's what leads to their aromas and flavors. It's the terroir which if in case terroir is one of those like, man, I don't know what that word means and I hate it, or like stuck up wine people say it. I rarely say it. I can't believe I've said it so many times in this class. Terroir is the French idea of not just the soil of a place. It's the soil, it's the climate, it's the sun exposure, it's the whole thing. It's the whole biosphere. So all of that is in play. And with them, like knowing how they kind of go about that, like they're going to find the soil that's going to kind of bring out those notes in the Cinsault and the Pais. In this specific instance, no, the smokiness is not coming from oak. And I say that with absolute authority because I know that it's like about the grapes here. And it's one of the reasons, again, like this is natural wine. This is not manipulated wine. This is not wine that is made to smell or taste smoky. This is just as is. So for what that's worth. When I say manipulated, I'm thinking of some like, I don't know, bourbon barrel aged something like wine, not beer. That's all well and good, or bourbon. That's all well and good too. But like a bourbon barrel aged wine that, remarkably smells and tastes like, I don't know, too much like vanilla or too much like smoke. That's not real. This is real. Okay. Are we good? Yes? Oh, so interesting, Jake, to ask about the smoke taint. I have tasted some smoke tainted wines from previous vintages when the wildfires affected vineyards previously. Well, I guess the two things I'll say about the smoke tainted wines that I've had in the difference between this and the Itata and this, or those, pardon me. It doesn't blow off. So in the way that this smell and taste is going to change over time, at least in my experience, and now it hasn't been a lot, I've tasted a few, but the wine kind of always has a little like hint of campfire to it for the wines that are made from affected grapes. I have tasted wines that are by affected grapes that do not have it at all, that the winemaker was able to salvage and it doesn't smell or taste smoky in any way, shape, or form. I've had some that are like, I kind of actually want it to be more noticeable, like more like a Rauch beer. Like I want to know that it's smoky, because as it is, it's kind of in the in-between. It's neither not there nor really there. But it's not going to kind of go away the way that this does. Yeah, so I would say that that's kind of the biggest thing. And then the other part of this is like, this is what these grapes taste like. And with a smoke tainted wine, like imagine like, I mean, what I'm trying to remember all the different grapes I've had, but let's just say like Chardonnay, like smoked Chardonnay. You know what I mean? Like it's still Chardonnay, but then here's this like very unexpected smokiness to it. Does that make any sense? So sorta. And I think that we're going to see more of the smoke taint wines in the coming years. So from a couple of years ago, while there was a lot of destruction, wineries were still kind of able to salvage grapes that weren't affected. But I don't know how they're going to be able to do that in the coming years. So we're kind of have to all see. Other questions? All right, we're gonna move on then. We're going to go back up north, but inland now, to the Maipo Valley. So we're going to the Central Valley region. So if you remember our map, we have the Aconcagua, and now we have the Central Valley, and they're pretty much right next to each other. The important regions here, Maipo is where we are, Calchagua is very important, and the Maule Valley are very important. So if you are traveling there someday in the future, if you don't want to go to Casablanca or you want to go to multiple places, I would say pick one of these as well. And if you're a red wine person, I would definitely say Maipo is your jam. So the Central Valley region is the largest region, wine region in the country. Definitely varying soil and elevation. The Pacific influence is still really strong. It's so interesting when you think about Chile, like, well, now we've moved into a separate region from the the coast, but it's so narrow. It's so narrow. So there's still a definite strong Pacific influence. Like, it's not there, right? So this region is about 250 miles long. So, in relative terms to us, with California is, almost 3 times as big as that. But wine region wise, it's kind of like the central coast of California. So important grapes here in Maipo are definitely Cabernet Sauvignon, Carménère, which is what we're going to taste tonight, and then other Bordeaux varietals, Merlot, Cab Franc. They're kind of all things. If you are not familiar with Carménère, it is one of the child grapes of Cabernet Franc. See, it's like all these classes that I've been teaching recently all kind of tie together. So we just did Cab Franc not too long ago, and we talked about Cab Franc being the parent of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, and also Carménère, but we didn't really talk too much about Carménère, but here we are tonight talking about Carménère. Carménère is used a bit in Bordeaux, which is kind of how it first came to Chile. And I would say that it's kind of while País has the historical roots and has its own story there, Carménère is really kind of Chile's flagship grape. It's the grape that they grow that isn't really grown anywhere else in the world to renown. Let's say that. There's a little bit of Carménère grown other places, but not quite the way that it is in Chile. No lie, Chilean winemakers have seen their friends over in Argentina hitting it huge with Malbec, and they have tried for a long time to hit it big with Carménère. They just, no lies, they're like, yep, that's ours. Malbec's not ours, Carménère is going to be ours. So if you're not familiar with it, take a big old sniff, and you'll understand why I was suggesting having peppers tonight. Carménère, like its parent grape Cab Franc, is definitely known for its bell pepperiness. The winery strongly recommends that you have it with venison. Funnily enough, they call it deer, which, I mean, I understand why they call it deer. That's the animal that it comes from. But I was like, oh yeah, we call it, we have a nicer word for it here in the US. But I love this wine with sausage and peppers. So I know that's what some of you are having tonight. And here is the vineyard. So these are single block, like this is from Ventisquero, and they call them their single block. So they have a single block line, and each of the wines comes from a single vineyard. And this is the vineyard that the Carménère comes from. You'll notice it's not that steep a vineyard. In Chilean terms, it's quite flat. And they like that sun for their Carménère. So let's see what y'all are smelling and tasting. Black cherry. But also along with pepper, right? And unlike the red before, we can definitely talk about oak now. There's definitely much more of an oak influence on this wine than there was on the... Yeah, I think like cracked pepper, more on the palate for me. It just does, for me, it smells... I do get a little more bell pepper, but neither here nor there. But yeah, earthy, right? Like wet earth. Yeah, peppercorns, right? I agree with you, Alexis. Alexis is calling out the fact that it's 2014 and it's $20. And I agree. And it's one of the beauties of drinking from a lesser known place. People are not clamoring for Chilean. They're not clamoring for Chilean wine, and then they're not necessarily clamoring for $20 Carménère. They want $10 Carménère. And so if you're willing to spend just like a little bit more, you can get like a really quite impressive wine with a nice amount of age on it, right? Nice acid. I agree with you completely, but really good structure. Pardon me. I just had some go down the wrong pipe. Carménère, because of the acidity and some of those good tannins, this wine, you definitely, if you are the type to like want to get some bottles and kind of see how it changes over time, I would say that this wine probably has about 3 to 5 years left on it. Like if you wanted to age it and just kind of, get 6 bottles and kind of drink 2 a year and kind of see how it goes or something, it can be kind of a fun way to do that. And it's not spending, kind of a price point that you might not want to spend. But I also then, like, as I'm smelling now, I'm starting to get some of that like kind of like leathery thing that comes up when a wine has been aged for a while. And this is the current vintage from the winery as far as I know. So I think they're going for kind of that style. I would say this is a particularly elegant Carménère in my experience of the ones that I've had. So if you like this, awesome. And I'm not saying you're not going to enjoy others, but just like kind of be aware that we are tasting something that's a little like, I don't want to say like I don't want to like oversell it, but I'm just saying like, this is a particularly lovely example. So just like kind of be aware of that if you are like, okay, I'm going to start drinking Carménère now. Lucas with the winner, Wet Horse Saddle, right? It is a damn good wine. You're right. It is. It is. Yeah, I agree with you. I've had Carménères that were like chewing through a hedge. So this is a pleasant surprise. I also adore that. Yes. And I adore being told that I can say it's a damn good wine. It is a damn good wine. It really is. I haven't had it in a while. It's probably, gosh, I don't even remember the last time I tried this wine. And I really I like it. I like it a lot. I think that it's just really delivers. Alexa's saying that it's your favorite of the night. That doesn't really surprise me. I'm like, and that's what I think is fun. I know that it's only the beginning of October, but when the time comes, if you need holiday gifts for people, like this would be a really fun wine to gift to someone who likes Cabernet Sauvignon, who likes Merlot, who, just kind of likes bolder wines that aren't like hitting you over the head with their boldness. I think that this could just be like a really fun thing to have on hand. It's great with sausage and peppers. It's great with all those things. It will be amazing with beef Wellington if you have the calling. Who doesn't like chewing leaves? My puppy likes chewing leaves. Don't you like chewing leaves? Come on. It's delicious. Somehow the time has flown by, guys, and it's now 7 o'clock. So I'm wondering if there are questions that did not get answered about Chilean wine. If you feel like you have the lay of the land a little bit. Oh my God. We did like stones for a class. I don't know if we will do wet leaves. So I didn't plan. Damn it, I just didn't do it right because I didn't plan a components class. And by the time I would be able to schedule one, all the leaves would be gone next year. That's for 2021. Maybe we'll be in person by 2021. Who knows, guys? All right, questions? Last comments? Yeah, we can definitely talk about minerality for sure. Absolutely. So I get more of the minerality on the nose on this wine than I necessarily do on the palate. I I agree with you about kind of a wet stoniness to it. I do think that there is a minerality backbone kind of running through this. It's one of the reasons that this this label is called gray. The wine, I'm going to get my words together. The vineyards have limestone soil. And I could wax on about minerality forever. I'll just say briefly that scientists argue that the soil, like grapes aren't actually sucking up elements from the soil to make the wines taste minerally, but they don't know what is. And I'll say that when you taste a wine from Chablis, France, where the soil is fossilized seashells, it tastes like seashells. So I don't know about that one. So here, the wine is grown on limestone soil, and I definitely think that you can get some of that kind of like limestone quality, both palate and aroma. So I'm absolutely 100% with you. And it just kind of adds to the complexity of this wine, right? It's not just like a boom fruit bomb. It's not just the pepper thing. I've definitely had some Carménères that are just like pepper, too much bell pepper in my glass, not in an interesting way. And I think that this does it in an interesting way. Did we get it? Any other questions? I'm open, guys. I'm here for you. All right. Thank you all very much. Yay, 3 winners. I'm so glad. What are additional regions you should keep in mind? So you should keep in mind the Maule Valley. See, my accent's getting too much. Sorry, let me make this big and I'll go back a slide for you. So in addition to the ones that we tasted tonight, I would say check out Colchagua and Maule. Those would be the other 2 that I would say are going to be readily available. And then there's also the Leda Valley, which is close to Casablanca. So that would be another one to try. So I would say that they will be the ones that are going to be readily-ish available. And you can maybe travel. So yay, I'm so glad. I'm so glad the wines were a hit, guys. This is so great. Oh, yay. Yay. I'm so glad. This is just like the history, just like such a lovely reminder that Chilean wines are fantastic and we should all be drinking them more. Yay, I'm glad. And we have next week off because my husband is the director of the Wisconsin Book Festival, and that is the big 3-day celebration is next week, so I will not be teaching wine class. But then the following week, I have Rioja Reds, and you should join me. And then we have Apple class. So I will hit you up, Katya and Drew, offline about the Pinot, okay? All right, bye, everybody. Have a great night.